Hello, government students. In our last lesson, you had an assignment to answer some questions about the Illinois legislative branch. You had a handout that I needed you to answer the questions on. And so today I just want to make sure that you have the correct answers on that worksheet. So I'm going to go over those answers with you now. But you still do need to make sure that you have either turned in a paper copy of this worksheet or you have uploaded a photo of the completed worksheet into Canvas. So let's get started. First question. What is the elected body of the legislative branch called? And that's an easy question, and we actually answered it in our lecture last week, or last lesson, and that's the General Assembly. And of course, the General Assembly is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives, which of course is the next question. Then we go down to how many legislative districts does Illinois have? How many senators represent a single legislative district? So there are 59 legislative districts and 1 senator per district. Next question. What is the term of office for an Illinois senator? And that is a cycle of 2 4-year terms and 1 2-year term. And that was done so that in most election years you will not have every senator up for re-election. We have the Senate divided into 3 different groups, and they then run on this odd cycle of terms. What is the difference between a legislative district and a representative district? The next question. Simply this: legislative districts are represented by state senators. Representative districts are represented by state representatives, members of the House of Representatives. What are the 3 requirements one must meet in order to serve in the General Assembly of Illinois? And these 3 requirements are the same for both the House and the Senate. You must be 21 years old, you must be a resident of your district for 2 years, and you must be a United States citizen. Next question. How many representative districts are there? How many representatives are assigned to a single representative district? There are 118 representative districts, and of course 1 representative per district. And as we discussed in the last lesson, each legislative district is split in 2 to get 2 representative districts in each legislative district. Okay, next question. What is the term of office for a member of the Illinois House of Representatives? And it is 2 years. How many public offices can a state legislator hold other than his seat in the General Assembly? It might have been a little bit difficult for you to find this answer, but the answer to this question is in the Constitution, and that answer is none. If you are a state legislator, that means if you're in either the Senate or the House of Representatives, you may not hold any other office in the state government. Okay, what are 2 special powers of the Senate? Had to do a little bit of searching around in that, so I went ahead and told you where to go to get the answer. In the Senate, the special powers are to try impeachment cases and to approve executive appointments that are made by the governor. So let's talk about this just briefly. When someone is impeached, and the people who can be impeached are anyone who are elected into either the executive branch or the judicial branch of our state, and if they do some wrongdoing, or it is believed that they have done serious wrongdoing, what will happen is they can be impeached, and the Senate will actually put the impeached person on trial. And it's very much like a legal trial. And if the person is found guilty by the Senate in this impeachment trial, that person will be removed from office. So the impeachment actually has already happened by the time it gets to the Senate, and the Senate puts the person on trial to determine whether or not that person will be allowed to stay in his office or if he will be removed. If the person commits a crime and is impeached and removed from office, that does not mean that that person goes to jail. This is not a trial. An impeachment trial is not a trial that will determine ultimately guilt or innocence from a legal standpoint. It simply removes the person from office. And at that point, that individual who was impeached and removed could stand trial for criminal activity. And that's exactly what happened with our governor, Rod Blagojevich, back in the early 2000s, or between 2000 and 2010, somewhere in there. He was impeached and removed from office, and then he was put on trial and found guilty of corruption and was actually sentenced to a fairly lengthy prison term. Okay, moving on. Name the special power of the Illinois House of Representatives. They begin the impeachment proceedings. So the way that works, if it is felt that a member of the executive or judicial branches has done some serious wrongdoing, the House of Representatives can bring impeachment proceedings against that individual, and then the House will vote as to whether or not to impeach him. And if the majority of the members of the House vote to impeach, then that person is impeached. And at that point, he will go to the Senate for trial. Alrighty, next question. In order to become a law, a bill must be approved by both houses of the General Assembly. And in which house must that bill originate? It can originate in either house. That is, it can originate in either the House of Representatives or the Senate. It really doesn't matter which house the bill originates in. What does matter is both houses have to approve the bill in order for it to become law. Okay, moving on. How many votes must a bill receive in each house before it is sent to the governor for approval? And the answer to that question is you must receive a simple majority in both the Senate and in the House of Representatives. Next question. How many different subjects can a bill generally address? And a bill can only address one subject. That's different than in the national government. At the federal level, a bill can address any number of subjects, a lot of subjects. But in the state government of Illinois, a bill can only address one subject, and I think that's a good thing. We don't want to muddy up bills with a bunch of different subjects that aren't related to one another. Next question. The governor may refuse to approve a bill by returning it to the General Assembly without his signature. What is this called? And that is called a veto. When the governor does not want to approve a bill for law, then he simply refuses to sign that bill and he returns it to the General Assembly. Actually, he'll return it to the chamber of the General Assembly where the bill originated. If the governor refuses to approve a bill, the General Assembly can still pass that bill and make it become law. How does this happen, and what is it called when this happens? So the way this works, if the governor vetoes a bill, again, he sends the bill back to the original chamber where the bill originated. The governor, by the way, must also state the reasons that he objects to the bill. Why is he vetoing it? But then the original chamber where the bill originated has the opportunity to still get that bill passed. And the way they will do it is if 3/5 of the members from the original chamber vote for the bill to be passed, they'll then send it to the other chamber, where that chamber will have the opportunity, also requiring 3/5 of its members to approve it. So if 3/5 of the members from both chambers still approve the bill, even though the governor vetoed it, that bill will become law, and we call that overriding the veto. When the General Assembly still passes the bill over the governor's veto, they have overridden the veto, and it takes 3/5 of the members from both chambers to do that. That's not easy to accomplish. It's 3/5, 60% is a pretty big majority, so that rarely happens, but it does happen occasionally. What happens if the governor does not sign a bill and does not return it to the General Assembly? Remember, for a veto, the governor doesn't sign the bill, but he still has to return the bill unsigned to the General Assembly. If he refuses to return it to the General Assembly, that bill will become law after 60 days. So, in most cases, the governor is going to go ahead and either sign it and return it to and make it a law, or he'll refuse to sign it and give it an official veto. There are occasions, though, when the governor may decide that he doesn't want to approve this bill. He doesn't want it to be law, but rather than suffer the humiliation of having his veto overridden, he'll just sit on it and not do anything with it, and then in 60 days it becomes law. Okay, next one. Under what conditions can a member of the General Assembly be arrested when participating in General Assembly business? When the General Assembly is in session and you're a member of the House or the Senate, you cannot be arrested unless it's for treason, felony, or breach of the peace, which of course is disturbing the peace. That would be something like getting drunk and causing trouble, out in public. Otherwise, for minor offenses, you cannot be arrested while the General Assembly is in session and you're a member of the House or the Senate. The reason for that, by the way, is we don't want the governor who is in charge of the state police abusing his authority by arresting members of the General Assembly for nonsensical reasons just because he may not want them to take action on a particular piece of legislation that he opposes. So this is meant to protect against the abuse of power by the governor. Next question. Members of the General Assembly are required by law to file a statement of economic interest providing details of their wealth and investment. Why do you think this is the case? You won't find the answer to this question in the Constitution, but I think if you think about it, you'd come up with a good answer. And basically that's to make it less likely that legislators, members of the Senate or the House of Representatives, would act on legislation for their own financial interests. It reduces the likelihood of corruption. For example, then, if I'm in the Senate and I have a whole bunch of stock in Microsoft, I wouldn't necessarily want to be proposing legislation that is going to help the value of my stock. We don't want legislators proposing legislation based on their own financial interests. We don't want them to pass laws that are going to enrich them. We want them to be, totally honest, and we want to reduce that temptation for corruption when they're about their official business. So I believe that's it for the questions on the assignment you had in our last class. And now you should be checking out the next video we have, which I believe is on the executive branch. So with that, we will close this presentation.